welcome to a special Halloween edition of the PDR Sports Webcast. I'm sports reporter Kevin Morales alongside sports editor Travis Huslett. Today we'll be running down a couple Portage teams that finished off their seasons last week. We'll be giving a playoff update, a brief rundown of the first round playoff games yesterday, and then kind of previewing Saturday's games for the teams that moved on. And Travis will have a state cross-country preview coming up at the end of the webcast. The Portage football team lost its season finale on Wednesday to Monroe. They lost by 3, but it was a close game. Came down to a field goal at the very end that was wide right.
Yep, just wide right.
The Warriors only one win again on the season, but I think a lot of people would say that they made a lot of improvement this year, especially head coach Dave Schmitz talked a lot about they could have beat Sauk. They could have beat.
They lost by 2 to Sauk, and then lost by 3 to Monroe. A late safety and then a late field goal that would have tied it against Monroe. So they were definitely competitive late in the year. So a lot of things to like about that.
Very well could have had 3 wins this season. So
definitely
some improvement. Always good to see heading into next year. Also, Portage's volleyball team lost in the regional semifinals to Madison Edgewood. They had a pretty good season. Finished 3rd in the Badger North, and for a while, at least up until the midway point, we're still in position to possibly win the North. So a good year. I know Joanne Armstrong was disappointed in the loss. She thought that this was the team that was going to break through to the sectionals for the first time since
96 was their last sectional, time at sectionals.
So, I think they just ran into a good Edgewood team, and sometimes, you're just not the better team, and I think that's what happened in that game. Looking at area football, we had our Level 1 playoff games last night. First game, I think that had 2 local teams in it, was the Partyville-Poinette game. Partyville ended up taking a 21-7 win. They played great on defense. That was the story of the game. Jamie Enger with 3 interceptions, and Michael Knudsen with 2 sacks, and just a really great defense. Mike Haynes said after the game he thinks his team's really starting to understand the new defense they put in prior to the year. They now play number 3 seed Darlington at 2 p.m. on Saturday. Darlington finished the season tied for 1st in the Southwest Wisconsin Activities League. Alex Erickson, their quarterback, has carried 126 times for almost 1,000 yards, 954, and 17 total touchdowns according to their WisSports page. Also, Lodi took a 47-0 win over River Valley. Lucas Stranich, I believe is how it's pronounced, probably not, threw for 2 touchdowns and returned an interception, all within the first 4.5 minutes of the game. So Lodi just rolled in that one. And that was their 4th shutout that the defense has pitched this season, so they play outstanding defense. They're now at home on Saturday versus number 4 seed Prairie du Chien at 4 p.m. And that's at Lodi. Prairie du Chien took 2nd in the Southwest Wisconsin Conference. Their quarterback, Chandler White, is 101 of 174. That's 58% of his passes completed for nearly 1,700 yards and 20 touchdowns. So those are some pretty impressive numbers. Why don't you run down the other games?
Yeah, in Division 7 last night, Rio beat Wazeeka Stubing to advance to the 2nd round. And really the story of the game was Rio's running game, which is usually the case when they play. They were rolling on the ground. Robbie Fugel had a huge game on the ground. And they were able to roll up some big yards on the ground. And the defense played well. Wazeeka wasn't able to move the ball too well. So Rio advances. They're going to play number 1 seed in the region, which is Potosi, in Potosi on Saturday. And for those of you not sure where that is, that's way down in the southwest corner of the state. And the Chieftains of Potosi are really good. They are the champions of the Six Rivers Conference. They're undefeated heading into Saturday's matchup. They opened the playoffs, Potosi did, with a 56-20 win over Seneca, and they're averaging over 41 points a game, so they've really been rolling this year. The other Division 7 game that a local team is Randolph. They opened with a 52-0 win over Ithaca on Tuesday night, and the story of the game for them was their defense. Obviously, they shut them out, and actually Ithaca had minus 26 yards of offense, so that kind of tells you all you need to know there. They're going to play Schulzburg, who's the number 3 seed, and Schulzburg beat Cambria-Friesland last night pretty handily. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. Schulzburg's Nate Carrier had 206 yards on just 12 carries and 4 touchdowns against Cambria-Friesland. So that'll be an interesting matchup on Saturday, and we'll see what happens there.
Sounds good. Why don't you run down the cross-country preview as well? Then?
Yeah, Saturday is the state cross-country meetup at the Ridges Golf Course in Wisconsin Rapids, and there's a handful of local runners participating. For Portage, there's 2 seniors that are going, which is kind of neat. Cassie Van Ness on the girls' side is making her 4th trip to state, 4th and final, obviously. And Alex Champove on the boys' side is also going to state. It'll be his 3rd time at state, but first as an individual. The other 2 times he went was part of a team that qualified. And they both had similar seasons in a way that they kind of fought through injuries and they got healthy at the end, and now they're qualified for state, so good for them. Also, Poinette's Katie Severson also is going, and she's also a senior, so it's kind of neat to see her go out at state. And she's also making her 3rd trip, but first as an individual. In the Division III, there's a couple of local runners. Partyville's Taylor Hayes, a freshman, kind of surprised some people and qualified. So that's good for her. She'll be making her 1st trip as a freshman, obviously. And the Ryle Fall River Co-op has 2. Derek Johnsrud in the boys' side is making his 3rd state trip. And I know he's looking for a high finish. He's definitely looking to finish maybe even top 10, something like that. And then the other one is on the girls' side, Hansina Vangen making her 1st trip. And I know she's really excited about that. So those are kind of the local athletes that are going to be in action on Saturday at the state cross-country meet.
Sounds good. Quickly, let's make some predictions. Partyville, Darlington, who do you got?
Boy, this is going to be a good game, I think. I was impressed by just from what I read about the Partyville against Poinette last night. I thought that'd be a close game, and it really wasn't. They kind of handled them. So I'm going to say Partyville in another close game. 3 points. Partyville wins.
Sounds good. I'm going to say Partyville. I'm going to say more than 3 points, which is the same thing I said about the Poinette game. Ended up being right on that one. Let's see, Lodi, Prairie du Chien.
Boy. Lodi is just, their defense is great, I think. Prairie du Chien's going to provide a test, though, but I'm going to Lodi. I think they're the better team.
Yeah, I know you said Rob Hernandez from the State Journal thought it'd be a good game, but defense wins games, wins championships, and Lodi's got defense. So, who else we got?
Rio and Potosi.
Rio and Potosi. I'm going to say Potosi. They've been ranked in the AP poll all year.
Yeah, they're obviously we haven't seen them play, but just by the numbers, they're really good. So if it's played on paper, Potosi wins. So I'm going to say Potosi.
All right.
Another game is Randolph and Shullsburg.
I'm going to go Randolph. They're just big. I don't think Shullsburg from a Six Rivers conference is going to be able to compete.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going the other way. I'm going Shullsburg on this one just because the way they handled Cambria. That Six Rivers conference, that's the same conference that Potosi is in. And I think that's a tough league. And I'm just impressed by Shullsburg. I think they'd be great.
Sounds good. Well, I guess we'll see you next week when we come back. Thanks for joining us.